This girl when I was 10 years old. And what I love most, she had so much soul. Hey everybody, it's Old School Heart back with another video for you guys. So please do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that share button, and please leave a comment below. Okay guys, so today's video is basically going to be a discussion. When I initially started this page, that's what I wanted to do, was to have conversations with you guys, things that you can talk about around the dinner table. This conversation in particular will require you to think outside of the box, to question the status quo, and to think for yourself. One of the things that I've been looking at recently is this increase in carjackings in Chicago, and I wanted to discuss it with you guys. If you live here in Chicago, or if you've heard about what's going on in Chicago lately, there has been a recent hike in carjackings. The Chicago Police Department this week has said that the carjackings have doubled over the last year in 2020. In 2020, there was a reported 1,400 carjackings. Most of the suspects in these recent carjackings are children from the age of 15 to 20 years old. One report that I found was 3 carjackings were done by a 14-year-old. He is in juvenile custody right now. Also, there are women, young girls from the age of 15 to 20 as well. Now, it's been reported that most of these carjackings are happening in our own Black community. And also, it is reported that most of these carjackings are with single Black women. News media outlets are reporting that a lot of Black women are starting to feel very unsafe and uncomfortable in their own neighborhoods. Most of them have reported that they will not leave their home in the dark and sometimes in the daylight alone. Now, due to this fear of safety, a lot of neighborhoods have come up with ways to protect Black women and to monitor their own neighborhoods. One of the things that I've seen in the media lately is this Operation Safe Pump, which is basically security at different gas stations around Chicago that will monitor the area and provide safety for Black women to pump gas without worrying about whether or not someone will come and rob them and take their car. This past weekend, Mayor Lightfoot met with Chicago Police Department, and they discussed different ways that they could prevent this increase in carjackings. One of the things that she implemented was adding 40 more police officers to the highest hit areas of carjacking. On top of adding more officers to those areas that are hit with carjackings, Mayor Lightfoot has put together a task force to try to explore why there is an increase in carjackings. Also, why it is reported that there are more juveniles who are suspects in these carjackings than adults. So let me just start off by saying Chicago has seen its share of chaos, right? We were already dealing with the increase in violence. We were already dealing with a high unemployment rate here, specifically in Black males. And then we also have Mayor Lightfoot, who came in during a time of just chaos as well, right? So when she became mayor, there was that issue with Chicago public schools, the teachers threatening to strike and different things like that. Then we have COVID that came in, and unfortunately, COVID brought way more problems than we ever thought would ever happen. We have, high rates of violence, high rates of shootings. Also, we were dealing with, all of the vandalism, the break-ins in different stores and different things like that. On top of that recent video that came out of them barging into a black woman's house, scaring her, it being the wrong house, them hiding this information, and also Mayor Lightfoot's participation in that. So it's been quite a few chaotic years for Mayor Lightfoot. One of the things that I've been asking myself quite lately is if Mayor Lightfoot provided an outlet for the youth. And one of the things that I will say is, you know, being someone who watches what's going on politically, in the back of my mind, I was thinking during this time, she's going to have to provide something to maintain peace in Chicago as we see an increase in unemployment and poverty in our black community. She's going to have to do something in order to make sure this city stabilizes. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing is the result of someone who did not pay enough attention. Now, I'm aware of all the resources that were provided during the pandemic for the youth, right? I am aware of Comcast providing free internet service. I'm aware of Chicago public schools providing laptops and tablets to each child so they're able to get online and do their work. I am also aware of all of the food banks and different places that you could pick up food to make sure that your child had a healthy, you know, balanced meal every day during the pandemic, and all of the other resources that the community provided. And also Lori's hand in making sure that there were resources provided to the black family. However, in my mind, I was thinking, if she doesn't keep the youth stimulated, what will end up happening is they will find something to do. What I saw from Mayor Lightfoot and those that worked with Mayor Lightfoot is that when COVID really became an issue, Mayor Lightfoot then became more about rules and regulations and making sure that everybody was following the rules, more so than making sure that as we keep ourselves healthy, as we work on prevention of COVID, that there is an outlet and there is something that the youth can do instead of just being told what they could not do. And I think as a result of this idea of preaching what you cannot do, open the gateway for the youth to feel neglected, for the youth to feel unwanted, and for them to ultimately come up with other ways to combat the time, right? Now, I'm perfectly fine with, you know, Mayor Lightfoot doing what she has to do as far as COVID is concerned. You know, I don't have any problem with that. But what I did notice, as she was making sure she was dealing with all of the other issues that Chicago has at the moment, one of the things that simultaneously she is working and pushing very hard is Chicago being this sanctuary city. Now, you know, sanctuary cities are basically places that welcome immigration without any issues or any problems. Now, I want to put a disclaimer out here. I have no problem with people exploring freedom options, right? And so if they feel oppressed in the country that they live in and they feel economically that it's better to move to the United States to have a better life for themselves and their families, I am perfectly fine with that. But what I found was Lori Lightfoot has this personal commitment to making sure that Chicago is a sanctuary city, all while still knowing that there are other issues that need to be pressed at the moment. And I think that the reason why the recent carjackings have increased in number is because Lori has put a lot of her focus on this sanctuary city that she so wants. Now, let me say this. These children should be held responsible for these carjackings. But Mayor Lightfoot also should be held responsible for her distraction with this whole sanctuary city. Because she has made that one of her biggest focuses, right? It has introduced a loophole. And unfortunately, because of this loophole, people's cars have been taken from them, and there's an increase in the number of juvenile delinquents. Now, I read an article in January that talks about this sanctuary city that Mayor Lightfoot wants, right? So I want to read a little bit of that to you so that we have a better understanding of what is going on. It says the mayor's proposed ordinance would no longer let Chicago police cooperate with immigration and custom enforcement agents. If arrestees' names are in Chicago's gang database, if they have charges or convictions in their backgrounds, or if they have criminal warrants. So basically, a part of the ordinance that Mayor Lightfoot is pushing right now is for the Chicago Police Department not to work with immigration and customs. And, allowing these immigrants, to be able to be in the Chicago area without any repercussions. It would also prohibit city agencies from detaining people solely because they might be in the U.S. without legal permission. So she's been working with the 35th Alderman Carlos Ramirez on this sanctuary city. And it's something that she takes great pride in. And while she's taking great pride in this, we see a lot of other things that are happening simultaneously. We see an increase in carjackings. We see an increase in shootings. We see an increase in unemployment rate. And a lot of what is going on is these children have nothing to do. There are places they can go to release, this pent up energy and this frustration. The schools are closed down, and, there's that issue with that. Lori basically was upset, I guess, this weekend because there wasn't a decision made on when the kids would go back to school. So while she's taking great pride in this sanctuary city, you have a city that is really under distress, and unfortunately, we have to start talking about, whether or not these Democrats, whether or not these elected officials really are here for the people that are already here. One of the things that we really need to start exploring is the motives of the Democratic Party, right? So across the board, not only just with Mayor Lightfoot, but across the board with Democrats, there is this push to move immigration, right? There's this push on immigration. We even saw it with Biden as he overturned everything that Trump basically put in place for immigration, right? So, we have to ask, what is the motive here with immigration? What are they looking to see? And as they push this immigration stance, right, how does this affect the people that are already here? And that's the thing that I have, and that's the biggest issue that I have with Mayor Lightfoot. As she pushes immigration, the people that are here, the black youth that are here, are suffering. There are no jobs here. The unemployment rate was already high for for Chicago, specifically with black males. And so as you push for more immigration and more people to come in, how do you deal with the people that are already here that are suffering? You know, it's said that she worked with the 35th alderman. His name is Carlos Ramirez, right? And it was him that pushed for, you know, this whole sanctuary city, right? And, you know, Mayor Lightfoot most definitely clung on to that, right? And what I would say is that we're going to have to start, as black people, we're going to have to start doing like Ramirez and making sure that we hold her accountable for the things that are happening in our community. And what I mean is not by just adding officers, right? You know, because that's the first thing that happens. When there's an increase in violence, it's understandable that you want to add more police officers. But the one thing that I find to, you know, not make any sense is that every time there is an increase in violence, there's an increase in adding police officers, but there's not an increase in providing resources so that some of this is prevented, right? So social work, mental health, you know, different family, you know, resources that could be used, and not the same ones that we've used before, but exploring new ways in engaging with the community and new ways in engaging with these juveniles who continue to come in and out of the system, and working with the families and seeing why, you know, maybe families are neglected at this moment. You know, COVID has created a chaos in employment. You know, maybe, you know, these families that are having issues with their children, you know, are having them because their focus has been on feeding the family. Their focus has been on making sure that they pay rent and different things like that. And so, you know, the first response is always the response of more policing, right? More people, seeing more officers, instead of it being more communications with these neighborhoods. And I understand that she's meeting with certain people, right? She's having conversations. But, you know, one of the things that I like about defunding the police is that the resources and the money goes back into the community in exploring, you know, different ways to combat these issues outside of pouring more and more money into the cops. And so, you know, I just want to get a perspective, a different perspective out to you guys. I actually want to hear from you guys what you think. You know, what are some options we can explore outside of adding more policing, outside of these boring community discussions that we've already had? You know, what are some things that Mayor Lightfoot could be doing? You know, and do you think that there is do you think that there is a ulterior motive, you know, with them, with the Democrats, you know, putting such a focus on immigration, you know, and not an ulterior motive, but what do you think the motive behind this interest in immigration is by the Democrats? What do you think, or why do you think is such a focus for them? So that's, you know, the cultural conversation we want to have today. Once again, like I said, I don't mind, you know, people coming in and exploring their options of freedom when there is hardship or oppression in the country that they come from. I don't mind that. But what I do want to question is, you know, why there is no focus on the people that are here, why they are not our main conversation and our main why they are not our main concern, right? And so I just want to have a discussion with you guys. Please leave your comments below. Please like this video. Please share this video, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.